Welcome to the tutorial for how to use SaBBO, Sann's Blood Bowl Organiser, which has got a rather snazzy name. This is just it might be a little bit dry, but it's very much a how-to video for how to use the Blood Bowl Organiser in Google Sheets that I've put together. Background is that the market leader for Blood Bowl League management was OBBLM, but with the release of Season 2, it meant that lots of things would not be compatible with that. There are various efforts going on to develop a new one. But in the meantime, this is my version, which is in Google Sheets, which is available for everyone to use. So to find it, you just go to sann0638.co.uk/bb/SaBBO, and that takes you to this page here, to the top of it, obviously. Scroll down, and this gives you, there's a user guide on there, so that's a companion piece to this, I guess, and then the link to the latest version. We're currently on version 12 after various iterations, and I'll talk through how that might work. Then there's a Facebook group which people are welcome to join and ask for feedback, ask for new bits and bobs, and discussion generally. So, without further ado, you just click on that link and it takes you to a Google Sheets. And the very first thing you should do is just create a copy. So you just click on File and then make a copy and then save it there. So I'm going to just call that a SaBBO test demo version. Cool. And then that takes you to your own version. So then you can do whatever you want to do with this, basically, because it won't affect, and then you can share it with whoever you want to share it with. You can make it editable by everyone, or you can make it viewable by everyone, or you can share it with specific email addresses. That's all in this sort of Google context, and that's a good thing. If you get stuck on that, just ask in the Facebook group, basically. But if you don't use Facebook, then you can tweet and so on. So basically you've got a league set up here. So this is standalone, and you put in your team names in here with your race and who the coach is. And then basic functionality I've got in there at the moment is I've got 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss, and obviously you can adjust that as much as you want. And then I've got 2 points for a touchdown and 2 points for a casualty, which is obviously not a good way of setting up the league, but I put it in there as like a demo. So adjust that. So our league is 0 and 0 actually, so just change those. And then the tie-break order, so you can change this. So I've got points, so the number of points you get is the first tiebreaker, then touchdown difference, and then casualty difference. I won't put more tiebreakers in there for the moment, but we'll see how that goes. And if you do have a particular want for tiebreakers, I'm going to show you how to do that in this tutorial. As well as yeah, so you can just play around with it yourself, and and if you have a particular version, then I might be able to help, because it's normally quite quick, but I'm not going to try and cater for all the possible different tie breaks that are available. The results tab you just put in here, so you choose your home team and your away team, doesn't matter which is home and which is away, and then you put in their touchdowns and their casualties, and you can put a little write-up in there. Nothing happens with that at the moment, but you might want to use that as a feed for something, or I might set up some functionality to use that at some point as well. The table, so the padlock on the table means that I've got that locked down at the moment, because someone made a copy of this and they managed to overwrite some formulas. But basically, this table you shouldn't edit. You shouldn't need to touch this at all. So it should come through that the team with the most points goes to the top, and the team with second goes second, and so on. It should all automatically fill in. It's set up for 20 teams at the moment, but obviously you can adjust that if you need to. So just to give a quick, I know I won't do that now. So then we get onto the team sheet, and this is useful because you can use it for tournaments and for leagues as well, because this is actually just a standalone team sheet. So if we make that a bit smaller, so what we can see on there is we've got the basic roster over on this side, and you choose your race to start with from the drop-down box. You've got all the drop-downs in there, and then once you've chosen your race, then you can choose your players, and it's got listed all the star players in there as well. Obviously, for a league, you wouldn't normally list all of those, but you can use those in a tournament, and then it should work out all the stuff for you. Inducements. I haven't listed all the inducements in there, just because there are always going to be lots. And personally, I don't really add them on in a league anyway. So you could just write those in yourself later on. It's a bit weird how different leagues use different inducements. So if you want to put the inducements on there, do so, and there will be included the cost in there. So then going along so if we make it a bit bigger again so we can see what's going on. So as we go along, the blue section is, I can't scroll right because Google Sheets the way it works. So the blue section is for you filling in your star player points. So this person's got 3 interceptions, which gives them 6 star player points, and they got 2 touchdowns. That's another 6. They got 12, and their remaining star player points is because the way that star player points work in Blood Bowl now is that you cash in a certain number of star player points to get some skills. You then have the green section, which is just where you add skills. So you can literally choose. There's no clever functionality in here. This is literally just a cost of all the skills that you're able to choose for your players. It's not limited by what the position is. So read the rule book. And it's yeah, no, it does it, and it's independent. The important thing is to realize is it's independent from the various other things that are happening. So all these sections are independent. So the blue box and the actually not quite independent because this column A, C, that does take from the box later on. But the green box and the blue box and the red box and the light blue box are all independent. So characteristic changes you put in there, temporary retirement and miss next game are just yes, no's. Characteristic improvements, you put numbers in there and they affect the stats. So characteristic improvements, you always put positive in. So if their agility improves by 1, then you put a 1 in there, and that will go from a 3+ to a 2+. So just to keep it simple, I put the characteristic improvements. You always put positive for improvements, and you always put negative for things that are getting worse. So if they got an armor bust, you'd put a minus number in there, and that would take their armor value from 8+ to 7+, for example. So when choosing your advancements, you go into the yellow boxes, and the cost of the advancement depends on the level the player is when they choose the advancement and also the type of advancement. So say they start with a plus move, that will cost you 18 star player points to start with. If you then got another plus move, that will cost you 20 star player points. If you got a random secondary, that will cost you 8 star player points because it was your second advancement. You've also got a calculation in here for the redraft cost, and that is affected by how many skills you have, and what the player is, and how many seasons they've played as well. So you put in the number of seasons in there, and the redraft cost is calculated. I just deleted that. That was a mistake. So now the next stage is for what you want to do if you want to adjust it for any reason. And so basically this is all unprotected and it'll be your own version, so you can't break anything. So all I'm going to do is click on that arrow there, and that unhides all the columns to the right, because all the magic happens in the columns to the right of the sheet, and it also happens in the rows below the sheet. So you click on that arrow there, and it unhides all the rows and all the columns. So what I did there then was I went down to row 35, say, and just click Control sideways, and this takes you to the working section, basically. So the first working section is these blue bits here, because these aren't interesting for people. So this is just a bit where it takes away the low-cost lineman. So for Snotlings and Noblars, it removes the team value from the calculated team value. And then in here, this is just a bit that fills in the skills. So it starts with the starting skills and then adds in the extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different skills. So that's just working stuff that you don't need to see. Should uncover it really, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just trying to find the working. I said it was row 30. There we go, row 35. That'll do. So what we then have, let's work it backwards, I guess. So this section here is the final working that produces the drop down that allows you to choose the players that you are allowed to choose. So because it's set to Amazon, you get this list here, which gives you the Amazon positionals and then all the star players they're allowed. Each position basically has a reference. So because an Amazon tribal linewoman is first in the alphabet, she gets position 1, and Zolcath the Zote is the last star player in the alphabet, so he is number 174. So there are 174 different positions, and then this bit here feeds through from the team roster and just tells you how many have been hired. And if that number is bigger than the number you're allowed, then it colors that in red on the roster, which is fairly straightforward. What we then have is a list of all the different position names in here. So if you want to add extra positions, all you need to do is generally the safest thing to do with spreadsheets is to put extra rows in the middle, because sometimes if you put them on the end, it won't be picked up. So what you can do is I'm just going to select the cells in the middle. It goes along to like the end there, and I just insert cells and shift them down, go back to the beginning, and then I copy these formulas down like that, and then I put a new position in there, and then I fill in its stats. So that's the sort of maximum number you're allowed, the cost in thousands, and then the stats in here. Notice that the stats don't have pluses on here. That's so that they can have stuff added to them. Occurs to me that for like a rat ogre, the functionality is not there at the moment to go from a hyphen to a 6. I can't especially be bothered to add it at the moment, but I might do at some point. So you add in the skills, you add in the statistics, and you just put this one bit down here. This is a column for whether it is a low-cost lineman or not. So there's literally ones all the way down except for snotlings and noblars. Right, the next thing you do is if we look along here, this is basically a list of all the races you're allowed. So if you want to add an extra race, you would need to insert a column in there, like that. So I've literally just inserted a column, and then you'd call it new race. You move that formula across there, fill in the reroll cost in thousands, put in a tier, irrelevant, not used anywhere. 1 or a 0 for whether you can have an apothecary or not. Stick some special rules in. It's not used anywhere in the spreadsheet, but useful knowledge sometimes. And then this is the important bit. This is where you put a 1 if the position on the left is allowed to play for that team. So for all the positionals, you'll see it just goes 1, 1, 1, 1, and then the next column 1, 1, 1. Those are the Black Orc team, and then the Chaos Chosen 1, 1, 1, 1. But then as you go down to the star players, it's got a load of ones for if they're allowed to play for that or not. So what we have over here, so say that the Black Gobbo was allowed to play for your new team, you would put a 1 in there. Just having a look. So this star player top, the top star player, oh, it's not a star player, it's a Wood Elf Treeman. That's why it can only play for a Wood Elf. So the top one, the Black Gobbo, you can see which race as it goes there. You could do things with freezing panes and so on, which makes life easier. But given that you won't be messing about with this very much, it's all fine. Yeah, so that's the idea. So you put those, so you put the ones in there, and then they will turn up. So for example, my new position, I put in a random place. It occurs to me. Where did I put them? I think it was just before the vampires, wasn't it? Possibly. So there it is. So my new position, I want to play for the new team. Here we go. New position. I'd remember which column it was. So we've got row 187 and ED. So I want to go to ED 187, and I'd put a 1 in there. So then when I chose my new race, my new position would turn up. But there's one more step before we can choose the new race, because the drop down here is driven from the lookups sheet, which is hidden. So you go to View, Hidden Sheets, and you choose the lookups, and then you would need to stick New Race in there somewhere. So just insert cells, shift down, and go New Race like that. Similarly, if you want to add new skills, you can put them in there. And if you want to adjust the cost, I suppose you could do that as well. That's all. It's all driven from this table here. The other hidden lookups are to do with driving how the table is calculated. So if we go to league working, that's not very interesting. You don't need to know that one actually. So let's hide that. And then if we go to league, so if we go to working, let's go to working results. Remind myself how this works. Cool. So what we've got here then is this formula at the top is what you want to adjust for the number of points they get. So at the moment, this is saying if B2 is 0, 0, so you get no points if there's nothing in there. So that just says that the game hasn't been played. And then if D2 is greater than E2, so that says, sorry, if D2 equals E2, so if it's a draw, then how many points do you get? And if it's hold on, why is it not letting me see the extra stuff? Oh, wait a second. So yeah, so if it's a draw, then you get this many points. And sorry, if it's a win, you get this many points. If it's a draw, you get that many points. It occurs to me that it's not actually set up. It's automatically set up so you get 0 points for a win. So might need to adjust that again. And then it's set up to give a certain number of points for a touchdown and a certain number of points for a casualty. So these are all being driven off the league setup. So it says that it's D2 times the number of touchdowns, and then, sorry, not D2. D2 is the number of touchdowns. So it's league setup F5, which is the points per touchdown. League setup F6 times the points per casualty. Okay, it occurs to me that I could have set it up so that it went against win, draw, and loss. So again, expect in version 13 to see a slight tweak to this formula so that it picks up win, draw, and points for a loss as well, because it's automatically set up to be 0 points for a loss. But basically, this formula and this formula, those are the two that you need to adjust if you want to adjust the number of points you get for something other than touchdowns or casualties. So if you want to record the number of fouls someone did and gives points for that, or if you want to give points for touchdown differential and things like that, you can. It's completely flexible. You just need to put the right formula into the spreadsheet. And then the last sheet that is hidden is the table working, and I don't think there's anything to adjust in here, but it might be interesting to spreadsheet nerds, in that what it does is it basically takes what the tiebreaker is and times the number of that thing by 1,000,000 or 100,000 or 10,000 or 1,000, so that it's an order of magnitude bigger. So when it says overall points, that's saying that if you've got more points, then you'll automatically be higher ranked than someone who's got more touchdowns, even if they've got like 20 more touchdowns, because the multiplier on points is 1,000,000 times bigger, and so on. Not a great explanation, but that's basically how it works. So after you've finished messing about, you just select the sheets that you don't need and you hide those. And then the last tab is the version notes tab. And basically what you've got is the version control in there. And if you've made a copy, you can see what adjustment I've done and then what the fix is to do that. And so if you're confident in spreadsheets, then you can just make that adjustment. If you're not and you've got a version that's already got loads of teams in and you want it fixed, then do get in touch via the Facebook group or Twitter or any other way that you know how. Fab. I hope that's been helpful. And that's enough of me talking about spreadsheets for many days to come, I think. So, yeah, good. Obviously, get in touch if you have any questions.